Thanks very much for trekking it out. I know there's a lot of people online and we're going to be live streaming from all around Australia. My name is James Alexander. I'm the co-founder of Galileo and this is our very first big Sydney event. So that's fantastic. Due to COVID, yeah, that's right. We are live streaming from around Australia. I'll be switching over to Melbourne in a second, but right now we are on Gadigal land of the Aurora people, the original traditional innovators of this land. And I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians, Gadigal people of the Aurora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if you're on socials, which I imagine everyone here is, please use the hashtag GV Showcase, hashtag GV Galileo Ventures Showcase, and we can find your content. Now, I'm also going to switch. Now, we're very ambitious, so we like to do things very ambitiously in Galileo. So we also got Melbourne. So I'm going to switch over to Melbourne. Hugh, are you there?
Oh, I'm unmuted now. There we go. Look at that. You've got to have at least one moment. Alan Jones will be very pleased.
Is that okay?
So thanks, James. I'm Hugh, the other co-founder of Galileo. Here in Melbourne at Revolver Lane, as you can see, quite a funky space.
Hey Hugh, your microphone is not on. Your lapel mic is not coming through. Just FYI, it's on an echoey mic. Just FYI.
It's echoey.
A little bit echoey, yeah.
This thing's down.
The joys of live streaming, guys.
As you all see here today, we back really early entrepreneurs. They are emerging founders. They're building their first high-growth company, and we aim to write a check pretty much before any other investors would generally be comfortable investing. We've got investments in nearly every state now, and I'll be interviewing our founders based in Melbourne, obviously. But to introduce you a bit more about what we've been up to, over to James and Lumi in Sydney.
Thank you, Hugh. Fantastic. Okay, so a lot has changed since last year. For those of you that live streamed in Sydney, and for those of you in Melbourne, it was a tumultuous year, but it was a fantastic year. So since we last saw you, we've invested $3.5 million into some stellar companies. You're going to see them on the stage tonight. They've attracted over $14 million in funding from other funds, which we're also going to talk about tonight. And for those that have a keen eye, you might have known and saw us talk about ourselves as a bit of a new accelerator when we launched. In fact, I think I used the coin VC accelerator, but for the first of many announcements tonight, I've actually dropped that. And we've decided at the beginning of the year, we are no longer known as the accelerator. We are Galileo, a seed VC fund. And what we do is we offer robust support to emerging founders, and many of them you'll see on stage tonight. In fact, the reason we did this is because we discovered the founders really like the flexibility of our model and how we support them. So in our last 12 months, one of my favorite things is we made our first hire. And here to introduce some of the changes that we've been making, as well as what we've been up to, I'm going to introduce Ludi Graham, our head of platform. Please welcome Ludi.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming tonight. It's great to see you all in person, of course, live as well. As James mentioned, a lot's changed in the past few months, and more specifically, since I've started at Galileo. So before I started, I thought that Galileo was an accelerator. And as I was chatting to a lot of founders who were coming in to do screening calls with us, I had to keep, describing Galileo and how it's not an accelerator and how we're a new type of VC. So what is a new type of VC and how are we different from others? So we offer more money to founders. So we invest up to 500K. We like to lead those rounds, or we can co-invest with other investors. That's also fun. We offer, it can be fun most times. We also offer more support. So this is, well, we call it the Galileo membership for founders. And what that looks like is fortnightly catch-ups with our founders. We also offer coaches, functional coaches to our teams. So that's across sales, marketing, and recruitment, and even product development. And sometimes we do like to have some fun, and that's doing mini conferences in different cities with our founders. Recently, we did Sydney and did Eucalyptus office. Should we show some pictures? Yeah? Let me just see if this works. It does not. Anyway, and then on another fun note, we have our Galileo annual retreat. This year we went to Airlie Beach and did some sailing. That was a fun time. We had Shania down here who was seasick, but then still thought it was a good idea to come on. Obviously everyone was super supportive, but that was also really fun to watch. Awesome. So enough about us. Why don't we get started with some of our startups for tonight? First up, we've got BuildAI. Sorry, 1 second.
The construction industry in Australia is the third largest and globally accounts for over 12.6 trillion in annual revenue. Despite that massive size, productivity has been stagnant for 50 years. The long 6-day work weeks act as a barrier to women's participation and are also a barrier to the younger generations who have lost interest in joining the trade. So right now, there is a global skilled labour shortage. Safety statistics don't help either, with the third highest rate of workplace fatalities from accidents. And what's even more confronting is that research shows in Australia, every second day, a worker is taking their own life. The harshness and inefficiencies of the industry really hit home when I started a family, and my work meant I was only seeing the kids on Sundays. I had to get out and be part of the solution. The industry had been due for change for a long time. It just needed more people to start imagining what could be possible.
Imagine knowing what's happening now and precisely what needs to happen next on every project in real time. Imagine a safety control that gives your site personnel unprecedented ability to look out for each other when performing high-risk activities. With the intelligence of Cranecast, you can live stream what's on the hook. Optimise crane use. Reduce risk and coordinate the supply chain. We'll partner with you to empower your people. BuildAI. Build intelligently.
Oh wow, that was great. On stage with me tonight is Christian Butcher, founder of BuildAI. Christian, welcome.
Thanks, Ludi. Great to be here.
So I've got a couple of questions for you. Firstly, everyone's always concerned about the speed of adoption in tech within your sector. How do you think BuildAI has cracked the market?
What we've really tried to focus on is the critical processes that every large-scale project has to do every single day. So the men and women that are in there at the coalface delivering these large-scale projects are typically working 10 plus hours every day, and that's because capturing data is largely manual. Processing it is manual, and then coordinating all of the processes that flow off that daily update is a siloed manual process, and typically people are staying back until 6 and 7 at night because they haven't finished organising what needs to happen for the next day. So we're automatically capturing the data and streamlining all of those processes.
Oh, that's tedious. And as the saying goes, hardware is hard, which I'm sure you've heard from other investors, and often costly. Why did you build the Cranecast feature, and how does that fit into your whole product?
So the Cranecast feature is that element that you might have seen in the video which attaches to the hook of any tower crane. Really the key reason behind that is to improve safety, because that's one of the highest risk areas of any project, but also it's one of the richest data sources. And so there's a huge gap in the market in creating an efficient way of capturing data. And also what we've done with that Cranecast device is actually enable us to host an integration with a lot of other tech that can plug into our comms and power and then feed off that data capturing vantage point.
Wow. And of course we're here tonight to showcase you, but is there anything the audience can help you with?
Collaboration, customers, capital. 3 C's.
3 C's, well done. How long did that take to Raz?
I think I remembered it right.
Thank you, Christian from BuildAI. Round of
Thanks very
applause,
much.
everyone. Next up, RSVPs for events. With Facebook slowly sliding into irrelevance with the Gen Z crowd, what replaces them?
There's something special about events. They give us little moments like these that we may only experience for a few seconds, but we remember for a lifetime.
That's why when Mahel and I heard that an entire generation wasn't able to create events because they weren't on Facebook, we decided to do something.
You see, about 1/3 of Gen Zs have a Facebook account. That means when I try to organize my birthday party using Facebook events, 2 out of every 3 people I want to invite can't be invited because they're simply not on the platform. And so I'm left to either create group chats where I can't keep track of who's RSVP'd and event details get lost in the chat, or I have to start a startup that fixes this problem and builds Facebook events without Facebook.
I was in a similar boat to Mahalo. I come from a more technical background and wanted to get off Facebook because I didn't like how they were harvesting and using my data. So we came together to build Envited. It's a website where you can quickly create your event by adding in your event details. You can invite friends from any social media platform and receive text message updates and reminders of any upcoming events.
We just launched Envited a few weeks ago, and so far we've had hundreds of events from all over the world. I'll tell you what, we thought Envited was just going to be for Gen Zs, but we realise now it's bigger than that. It's for everyone and every event type you can imagine. That's why our vision is to host every event in the world.
Our users have been asking us to build out a mobile app, which will come later in this year, followed by additional monetization features, including ticketing and data analytics.
Until then, we'd love for you to try Envited and give us your honest feedback. That way, we can stay focused on building something that you love so that we can be part of more moments like this.
Wonderful. So with me tonight, we've got Jordan here in person, and then we've got Mahalo all the way in Perth. Mahalo, have we got you online?
Yeah, howdy.
Hi. I love how extreme that was. It was like create an event or create a startup. So you guys are taking on Zuck. Why do you think this is the right time to do that?
Yeah, it's a good question and one we get a lot. I think for us, it comes down to this thing that Gen Zs haven't really been using Facebook since around 2016. And so there's been quite a large drop-off to the point now where only around 2% of Gen Zs in the US actively use Facebook. If we compared this to, say, social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok, around 88% of them are using that, but they all lack event functionality and a cross-platform nature, so we decided to build Envited.
Why not? And then over to you, Mahalo. Goodness me, it's sunny over there.
Yeah.
What traction have you seen so far with events on Envited?
I mean, it's been incredible so far. We've had thousands of users with hundreds of events, On average, about 1 in every 4 of our users are using it to host an event. And so as you saw in the video, we have events all over the world. Just a few days ago, I was talking with Krishna, who's hosting her 21st over in Birmingham in the UK. And she actually found us through TikTok. and Rosa, who's using it to host her housewarming party in San Francisco. And she found us out through a LinkedIn post.
Sick. So it's great to create events. How do you guys plan on making money?
Yeah, it's a question everyone's asking. For us right now, we've seen a few localized network effects pop up around the world. And so we're pretty focused on building out more of a user base and really implementing a lot of these features that users have been asking us for. We put the call out to our users and asked what their thoughts were. And so one of the things that they came up with was this freemium model. So Invited would be totally free for everyone to host all personal events, but major events like, say, festivals, big music concerts, other large-scale events that require things like ticketing or data analytics, we would look to charge an additional fee for that to those large-scale organizations.
Cool. Thanks for that. Is there any way the audience can help?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's actually two ways. So the first one is we're going to start raising our seed round in the next couple of weeks. So if you're an investor out there and you want to diversify your portfolio away from B2B and into a high growth consumer social space, get in contact with Jordan or myself. And the second way, and this is like instant way right now, is I would love everybody who's watching this to grab out their phones, go to Google and search Invited. Click the first link and just create a test event. And I genuinely mean that because it'll take a minute to do. And I would love it if you could give Jordan feedback in person or just shoot me a message on LinkedIn or Twitter to figure out what you love, hate, and want with the platform. Because we're obsessed with building something simple, beautiful, and usable for every event type. And so that's only going to happen with feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us tonight. Over to you, Hugh, in Melbourne, with an update from our previous portfolio, Ally Assist.
Hi, with me is Nikita from Ally Assist. Welcome. So to start, remind us what Ally Assist does.
Ally Assist is an online platform, and we help to connect people with disability to the best allied health team. We started in 2019 because we saw that people with disability weren't getting the therapy that they required. And so what we did was we employed allied health university students. They had the skills and the knowledge to help people practice their therapy, but because they're students, it was a third of the price of a regular allied health professional, which means that they could get support much more regularly for, a third of the price, like I said.
Awesome. And so we last heard from you sort of this time last year, when you were somewhat successfully navigating lockdowns and COVID and everything else. So what's changed coming to 2022?
So still navigating COVID, who would have thought?
It never stops.
Actually lockdowns were okay after the first couple. We got classified as an essential service, which meant our clients were happy to continue working with us. And we were able to continue to grow the allied health assistant arm of our company. We even expanded to New South Wales, and we're currently looking at Queensland and Western Australia. But the biggest shift in our company was our focus now to allied health professionals. So what we recognised was we couldn't be the best allied health provider unless we made the experience for every single worker in the allied health sector a really great one. And there are a lot of systemic issues with the allied health sector, but one of them is that therapists are completely burnt out. And so with our technology, we feel like we can create more efficient systems. And of course, just creating a really good platform and culture, team culture, to help ensure that every worker in the allied health sector can provide a really fantastic service to people with disability.
Awesome. So I guess on a bit of a different note, so you and Sam, your co-founder, have actually grown the team quite a lot since we first invested.
Yeah.
How's that experience been, like as a co-founding team?
It's been wild.
Great.
When you invested in us in November 2020, it was Sam and I and just one full-time employee, and now we have 14.
Yep.
So it's been great. Having more people on the team means that there are people that can actually help us out with things and we don't have to do everything ourselves. But that in itself is something that Sam and I need to get better at, learning to delegate and let go of control of everything. But it's come with, the standard growing pains as first-time founders, learning to adapt to every new person, create, I guess, processes where we never knew processes needed to exist. But overall, now looking back, all of the things that we've created are so beautiful, and I'm really proud of our team and how far we've come.
Well, we're very proud of you as well.
Thank you.
So what's next?
Next, we're going to continue to grow this allied health professional arm. In 6 months, we've gone from not having that at all to now it contributing to almost 30% of our revenue. So that's really exciting, and I think that's definitely where we're going to focus.
Awesome. And how can the audience help? How can people help?
The audience can help by telling all of their allied health professional friends, or even allied health students, anyone who is studying or already an OT, so an occupational therapist, a speech pathologist, or a physiotherapist, about Ally Assist. We are a company that is really passionate about work-life balance, prioritizing our workers so that they can provide a really great service to our clients, and using technology to do all of that.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Nikita.
No worries.
Next up is grocery comparison app, WiseList.
Hi, I'm Adrian, the founder of WiseList. This is my son and I in 2018. I had to do grocery shopping at the time my wife studied overseas, and I looked after my son by myself. I made a shopping list at home, then I put my son into the car, traveled to the store. If I wanted to get the best price, I would have to visit Coles and go to Woolies, then compare the price before I buy. This can take hours, and it is frustrating. But then my son would get hungry waiting, might ask for chocolate, ice cream, or McDonald's during shopping. All the money I saved, I end up spending it. I might save 15 in groceries, but spend $20 for McDonald's. This is a problem for all parents. So I built a WiseList. Parents with 2 kids can sit at home, make their grocery list, get the best price from Coles and Woolies before they go to the shops. Then we added delivery, so they can choose to have a personal shopper, purchase the items, and deliver it to their home. Our solution lets users search items to create a grocery list. Then they will have Coles price and Woolies price and mix-match price from both Coles and Woolies. So they shop in store or order on WiseList to have their groceries delivered by nearby person shoppers within 2 hours. Today, we have more than 83,000 registered users in Australia, and we have delivered more than 1,300 orders in Melbourne. Our month-over-month revenue and order growth are both above 50% in last 3 months. We make grocery delivery cheaper than in-store shopping, and our vision is becoming the #1 grocery app in Australia.
Awesome. And with me is Adrian, the founder of WiseList. Welcome.
Thanks, Hugh.
So there's been a lot of conversation and press about grocery delivery, particularly grocery delivery startups. I've seen a few already fall over. What is it about WiseList that makes you different?
Yeah, we are different because we are the only app makes grocery delivery cheaper than in-store shopping. So customers can get their grocery items mixed and matched from Coles Woolies and then get it delivered to their home. So we make grocery delivery cheaper and affordable. That's why we are different.
Awesome. And you've had sort of quite a lot, one of the things we've observed working with you for a while now is you've had a lot of sort of this organic press, despite not really doing too much work.
Yeah.
So what is it about WiseList? You mentioned the 83,000 users. Like, what is it about WiseList that makes all those users so interested?
Now it's 85.
No, it's 85. 85.
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
85. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think, to be honest, we solve the customers' pain points, and we give back consumers the power to save money and time in groceries. So consumers today, they want to know and research everything before they buy retail and something retail and electronic goods. So for example, it's very easy to compare the price of a MacBook Pro from JB, Harvey Norman, and Officeworks. But people can't compare the price of their regular grocery items from multiple stores with WiseList. So users can see and compare the price of their grocery shop from Coast Woolies before they buy. So we help them to save money and time in groceries. And this is much helpful when the food price is getting more expensive because of the inflation.
Awesome. And final question, how can the audience help?
Oh, yeah. Firstly, try the WiseList app. It can help you to save money and time in groceries. And secondly, we are always hiring. We built Australia's #1 grocery marketplace. And if there's anyone interested in becoming a grocery shopper, shop in store, and do the delivery, please check our website and download the WiseList Shopper app.
Awesome.
Finally, we're also looking for investment. So if you are an investor and looking to get into this space, please contact me.
Awesome, and we'll definitely make sure that happens. So thanks, Adrian. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And next up is Rntr, who are reinventing fashion rental to improve the industry's sustainability.
Over 60% of millennials and Gen Z have participated in the rentals and resales economy. You know who hasn't? 99% of fashion brands, who each season pump millions of dollars into design, production and marketing, only to be undercut by re-commerce websites that rent out the same items for cheaper, hijacking their loyal customer base. The re-commerce economy is expected to hit $77 billion in the next 3 years. That's growing faster than fast fashion. So where does that leave the brands? Well, if you can't beat them, join them.
I've worked as a designer and stylist for over 12 years, and during this time, I've seen the seismic shift in the consumer behavior, the demand for access over ownership, and for brands to be more responsible and transparent. And for brands, by adding the second revenue stream through rentals, with only 3% of their stock, we can double the profit margin within 12 months. But entering rental economy is not easy. Most brands aren't equipped to do the logistics behind the scene, like inventory systems, shipping, return, repair, or cleaning.
Here's where Rntr comes in. We're an all-in-one rental platform that lets brands offer rentals and resales directly from their own site. All it takes is 3 simple steps. Step 1, integrate the Rntr button into the brand's website, right next to the Add to Cart button. Step 2, when the customer clicks the Rntr button, the smart booking calendar pops up without leaving the brand's website. Step 3, check out through Rntr's cart without complicating the brand's inventory system. All the rental logistics are handled by Rntr software and their trusted network of partners. These major fashion brands have already joined the Rntr party.
In the past 4 months, we've already helped Unstop rent distress out 10 times over, already making more than 150% of the retail price.
So what does that mean for the future of fashion?
Our team of retail experts and engineers are here to make life easier for both brands and consumers to participate in the re-commerce market. Our vision is to build an economy where brands can earn more with less and consumer with more access for less cost and waste. Join the Rntr revolution and start renting now.
Round of applause for Shania. Fantastic pitch. That's a great video. All right, Shania. So thanks for joining us today. Why did you start Rntr, and what was it about existing fashion rental models that just simply don't work?
I started the idea for Rntr because during the stylist days, one of the things that I constantly hear from consumers is that they have nothing to wear. Like every woman here probably can relate it. Everyone's get up in the morning, have nothing to wear, while at the same time the industry is pumping out over 100 billion items a year. I think it's not that we don't have anything to wear, we just don't have access to what we want to wear, right? So rental is a great solution for that. But the rental industry in the fashion industry is quite dated. It's been around for a really long time and it has never changed. If you wanted to rent something, you got to go to a rental place to rent it. I think it's about time we actually normalize it and mainstream it. Anywhere you can buy, you should be able to rent.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you know, I've tried Rntr and it's fantastic. So if you're looking to...
I address Jane.
Yes, correct, yeah. How are you finding a reception for the industry? Fashion is not really the most tech-forward sector.
Well, yes and no. You've got some of the fashion brands who's always been the forefronts of technology, like Nike, who always improving their production and making the best shoes for people that can afford it. And then, yes, there is the traditional model where they kind of like, doing their own things and stuff. But with the rise of e-commerce, you're starting to see the industry change a lot. Most of the brands that we have spoken to actually have said that their digital store, the e-commerce store, are actually doing like easily 10 times better than any of their physical stores, right? So now all the brands is looking to improve their customer journey online, as well as, like Gen Zs and millennials is doing an amazing job at pushing brands to be more inclusive, sustainable, as well as transparent. And all those things that brand needs to do, they're gonna need a tech solution to help them achieve that. So we're right at the very exciting moment of the fashion industry. We're all going to be able to look amazing. I promise you.
Sounds great to me. Fantastic. And finally, last question. How can the audience help today?
We're in the middle of a fundraise, so if you have money, come up and talk. If not, start renting. Or simply just, go on social media, hashtag the brand that you love, and hashtag get Rntr. Let them know that you want them to be part of this solution.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Shania. Round of applause. All right, we're going to switch gear and switch across to mining rehabilitation and machine learning. Please give it up for Envirometrics.
The demand for renewable energy will see a rapid shift from coal to other critical battery metals. Copper already accounts for nearly half of the world's tailings, a type of waste derived from processing ores. This is expected to increase by 400% by 2050. Simply, mines are getting bigger and generating more waste. Environmental risk and regulation is the most pressing issue for the mining sector. Addressing environmental risk and regulation also comes at a cost. One Australian mine put aside $1 million for rehabilitation in 2004, which was nowhere near enough. In 2022, the same site is now spending over $2 billion for rehabilitation, and it's becoming more common for mines to be spending over $1 billion. At Envirometrics, we build technology that supports the mining sector in becoming compliant with environmental policy. Our team is composed of environmental professionals and mining engineers to ensure the platform is designed to meet the needs of all of those involved in meeting compliance. We equip environmental professionals with powerful tools, giving them a macro view of the site by using satellites to identify areas at most risk. You then know where to allocate your resources for the micro perspective, where having drones and boots on the ground is most useful. This approach reduces time on site and improves the safety of your staff by guiding you to areas of greatest importance. Existing software is too complex for most people, and the required information is often lost. Our clients work on projects that can last decades, so a significant amount of planning and monitoring is required to ensure they meet compliance. We need to ensure that we have access to the materials required as we transition to renewables, while minimizing environmental impact. As an ecologist, my vision is to be able to explore the environmental condition of any location in the world well before I go there.
A round of applause for Envirometrics. Now, unfortunately, Roger, due to COVID, is going to be joining us virtually instead of in Sydney. So, Roger, are you on our Zoom?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Fantastic. Well, pitch, love the video. What are mining companies doing to respond to the increased costs associated with rehabilitation?
Yeah, good question. So the days of plant and pray are long gone. Progressive rehabilitation is the game changer. No longer is rehabilitation left towards the end of the mine life cycle and where lump sum of money would be spent. Costs are spread throughout the mine life cycle, which could be 20, 80 years, and people are looking towards technology to find new best practice.
Because obviously these are massive undertakings and also very important in the growing climate reality we live in. Why did you decide to work in this space, and what makes your team unique?
Yeah, so I actually used to be a zookeeper, but I wanted to do something a bit more impactful. So for the last
that's something I just learned as well. Amazing.
I used to train monkeys. So for the last 10 years, I've done a deep dive into environmental management and mining. Whereas my co-founder has an amazing story. He actually lived near an illegal mine in Indonesia. He studied mining engineering, but he's since shifted to environmental management, and he's made it his life mission to reduce the impacts he had to experience going up. So we've got a fantastic team. We've also brought on Nelson recently as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we grow.
Fantastic. And finally, how can the audience help tonight?
Yeah, so we've opened up our seed round earlier this month. So we're always looking forward to speaking to the right people who want to come along our journey, either as an investor, but also as a potential future employee. So thank you.
Fantastic, Roger. Thanks very much for joining us. Round of applause. And best wishes for COVID recovery.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we're going to be switching back to Melbourne from an update from one of our startups that presented last year at Showcase, Tixel. Handing over to Melbourne.
Hi, with me is Jason from Tixel. Welcome.
Thank you.
So to start, remind me what you do again.
So Tixel is the next generation of ticket marketplace. We make it really easy and safe and ethical for fans to sell tickets to events.
Awesome. Nice and simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last time around, again, a little bit like Nikita with Ally Assist, we sort of talked about how you thought the event industry was really going to sort of recover and change as a result of COVID and lockdowns almost all the way around the world. Now in hindsight, what were the big lessons and how did everything go?
So one assumption that we kind of got right was that there would be huge pent-up demand when events did open up. And so now we're definitely seeing in the event industry that COVID is in the rear vision mirror. One thing that kind of surprised us was the change in consumer behavior. So one thing that we're finding now on the marketplace is that fans want flexibility, just as the same as with booking flights or holidays, flexibility is king. Buying a ticket to an event is an option to attend. It's no longer a commitment. And so, yeah, that change in consumer behavior has kind of surprised us a little bit.
Really interesting. So you've recently expanded your team into the UK, and Zach, your co-founder, is over there now.
Yep.
What's kind of been your experience with that? You know, like it's sort of your first, I guess, global office. You know, and what are sort of the lessons that you'd share with other founders that are thinking about doing the same?
So we're still in the early stages. So
how long has Zach been over there?
He's been over there for 3 months.
Okay, super early.
Yeah, super early. And so we've got, just for context, we've got an office in Melbourne. Now we have an office in London, but we are remote first. And so one of the big kind of takeaways from the early stages for us has been just getting everyone in the room together and getting them comfortable with each other. You know, to either have a beer together, throw ideas around the room and create that in-person connection. And since we've been facilitating that a little bit more intentionally, it's kind of translated back to the remote environment and making the collaboration on the remote channels a little bit deeper.
Awesome. And sort of, you mentioned earlier sort of this sort of deluge almost of events, and certainly in my life, I've seen all of the events that were delayed or cancelled or rescheduled or whatever it is, suddenly sort of reappear in the last couple of months. How have you how have you sort of responded to be able to help event organisers in that situation?
So one thing that a lot of people don't know about Tixel is that we also work really closely with the people who put on the events. And so we build products to help them better understand their audience, act on trends, and sell more tickets. And so post-COVID, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for event organisers. There have been rescheduled events that are getting delivered and clashing with each other. There have been capacity restraints. And so some examples of the way that we've been able to help is, for example, letting organisers set up waitlists for their events so they can gauge demand for extra shows and try and recover more revenue. Where fans have been trying to obtain cash refunds, event organisers have been able to deflect those cash refunds and send their attendees to Tixel to sell tickets. And event organisers have also had the ability to understand the live pricing insights that are happening in real time on the marketplace so that they can dynamically price their inventory to give it the best chance of selling.
Awesome. And so what's next?
We're in the very early stages of the UK and Europe expansion. And so that is the big focus for us, delivering on that opportunity and continuing to follow the path there. And in addition to that, we're focusing on building out a lot of those products for event organisers that I was just speaking about, and packaging them up in a more meaningful way.
Awesome. And finally, how can the audience help?
Sign up to Tixel.com, browse some events, maybe buy a ticket off someone else who's trying to sell their ticket, or just let your friends know that there's an easy way to trade tickets safely.
I mean, certainly I've been of the classic situation of going, what do I do this Saturday night? And rather than sort of going to what's on in Melbourne, you just go to Tixel and browse through essentially secondary sales. So I've had actually several times to find something to do.
There might even be a few good deals.
You never know.
At the last minute.
You never know. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Over to you, James, for an update from Relevance AI, who have been taking a lot of strides with applying vectors across different industries.
Round of applause. Thanks very much. I've just actually used Tixel for an event in London as well, so highly recommend. Okay, so with me is Daniel from Relevance AI. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, James. Thank you for having me.
Now, Daniel, you presented last year, but I'm not expecting everyone who was here to remember what Daniel does. So maybe tell us, what is Relevance AI? What do you do?
So we're the company and the product that's making companies actually data-driven. So a lot of companies consider themselves being data-driven by using their structured data, which typically is the data that can fit into an Excel chart. But what about all the other data, all the text, all the images, audio, video, all the data that's being produced every single day, which is 80% of the data produced by companies? What happens with that? Typically gets chucked into a data warehouse, it doesn't get looked at, or you need some poor person in the company to spend hours and hours every single day reviewing it manually. So we enable customers from construction industries to be able to better plan and understand what's working, what's not working, and all the lessons learned that they create so they can save money and save time on future projects. Customers in using it for customer feedback and surveys, understanding what customers are actually saying that can improve their margins. We've got customers in SaaS, in retail, in employee experience, all using it to actually understand what are people saying. Because we shouldn't let this data just sit there when it's actually contains some of the most rich signals that our customers have.
Yeah, and I've seen examples of this from you actually, of people that just sort of, get thousands of reviews interpreted by Relevance AI like instantly, which has been amazing to watch. Now, this time last year, well, I should say late last year, you announced a big seed raise led by a tiny little venture firm called Insight Partners in the US. For those who don't know, it's literally the biggest VC fund in the world. But what has changed since then? I mean, that's a big deal, obviously. It made a lot of news and headlines in Australia. What's changed?
Well, I think the thing that I'm probably most proud of since then is the team that we've built. We probably have one of the most talented data teams and product teams in the world, I'm proud to say. We're over 20 people now.
We've got it on the screen, by the way.
Wonderful, yeah. We're over 20 people now, and these are people that, it's a joy to wake up every day and work with them to actually build something so impactful. But in addition to that, what's, I suppose, changed is that we were initially very focused around specifically just more around the developer tooling and the machine learning side. What we realized when we looked at how customers were using it was that they were using it for data in ways that we didn't even imagine was possible with a product, and we realized we should go a little bit higher up the chain so that it's easier for people who are not necessarily technical to be able to get started with us, because this isn't a technology that should be locked up. It's not something that's impossible to do. It's available. It's here today. We're productionizing it. And so any person in any organization with any team realistically should be able to use this. And so that's one of the major things that we've kind of really been focusing over the last 4 months in particular, to stretch our reach into more parts of the businesses so we can enable better decisions to be made.
Fantastic. And what's next for Relevance AI then?
Well, one of the big pushes for this for the second half of this year for us is our go-to-market. We've actually got next Friday 2 AEs joining us, taking our sales team to 4. And really it's about making our sales process repeatable so we can ideally, by the end of this year, help as many businesses as possible make better decisions with their unstructured data. In addition to that, trying to introduce more self-service into our product so that it's as easy as possible for anyone to just click online, sign up, drop some data, connect it to your different data sources, whether it's a SQL table full of comments, whether it's a sales CRM, whether it's an employee experience platform. Just make it as simple as possible to get to that valuable data over the second half of this year.
Fantastic. And now I'm sure there's lots of people in this audience that have a bunch of unstructured data somewhere, but how can the audience help?
Well, one of the things, we are still growing. We're looking for really talented people to join us. One of our key values is having a builder mentality. So if you're someone who likes to build side projects, whether that's like a technical side project or some other sort of hustle in marketing or sales, or whatever it might be, do come speak to me because we value that a lot. The second thing is if you're a developer, we are launching an API that's incredibly simple to use to get you started with this sort of technology. It's called Similarity.ai. Check it out, have a play with it, and let us know what you think. And finally, if you are working in an organization, you probably should be speaking to us because we can probably unlock a lot of potential for you with the data that you have. Like I said, where you store your data, there's so much of it. We can have a conversation about the ways that we can help you make better decisions based off that.
Highly recommend. I've seen it in action and it is just like magic. It's pretty amazing. So thank you very much, Daniel. Round of applause.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you can grab a seat. Okay, I'm going to switch to our very last but not least startup of the night. They're in Melbourne, but before we do that, they're building a unique game to improve wellness that is actually very fun to play. Please welcome Lumi.
For most people on Earth, these past few years have been anything but kind. While the global pandemic unfolded, millennial and Gen Z women and non-binary folks struggled to prioritize their own mental health. They told us that the high time commitment wellness apps felt too much like work. Self-care hobbies like collecting plants or baking bread helped in the short term, but didn't build the skills necessary for long-term well-being. It became clear to us that there was a gap in the market, and in that gap, something grew. Hi, I'm Lauren Clinic.
And I'm Christina Chen. Between the two of us, we have more than 30 years of industry experience working on games that have been enjoyed by millions of players all over the world. Kinder World is the first of its kind.
It's a cozy game that isn't just about escaping the stresses of your everyday life. We've built it from the ground up to really help people. Our player community spends a few minutes each day in their ultimate safe space, taking care of virtual houseplants with a little bit of real-life self-care.
Hi, I'm Dr. Hannah Gunderman, and I'm the full-time well-being researcher working on Kinder World. I'm exploring themes such as community care and altruism, and working with the team to apply this cutting-edge research to our game mechanics. It's my job to make sure that players are not just taking care of their pot plants, but they're taking care of themselves as well. Kinder World is still in the early stages of development, but we're already making a positive difference in lives all over the world.
Kinder World helps me check in with myself and keep track of what it is that's
making me feel good and maybe what it is that's getting me down every now and then.
Neighbors will give you little letters giving you advice. My favorite ones are from Sammy.
Motivates me to take care of myself and is a bright little spot in my day.
Despite only being in alpha, the player retention for Kinderworld is performing at the top 1% for mobile games worldwide. This early success has helped us secure our seed round, led by Andreessen Horowitz, for 9.3 million Australian dollars. Download Kinderworld on the Apple App Store or Google Play and visit us online if you'd like to help us create a kinder world together.
Awesome. And with me is Christina and Lauren from Lumi. Great to have you here after a very near miss with COVID. Very near miss.
Yes.
So Lauren, Christina, God, the name's wrong in the question and it stressed me out and so I just totally stuffed it up. Why did you and your co-founder, Lauren, Christina,
Thank you.
come together to build a game centered around wellness that's still really a game at its core, rather than sort of going from the wellness side first?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we have a story to tell. The first part of story you would have heard. The second part you have not.
Okay.
Yeah, the first part we talked a little bit about in the video already. When we first looked at the well-being space, we thought it was quite crowded already because we got dominating apps such as Calm and Headspace as meditation apps. People have taken it up. But if you look deeper, and we talk to so many users throughout those apps, 97% of them, including Gen Z and millennial women, dropped out of those apps. And when we talked to them, they said it felt like work. It felt like something else I can fail at. So we go, okay, this must be a gap there. So combining with our game experience, we think we can do something about this gap. The second part of this story is once we started building it, we found there are actually two advantages to making it a game at a core rather than an app. First of all, comparing to our competitors who are mostly app, even though they do gamification, they're very, they have to focus on one thing. They have to be either more a variation of journaling or like a water drinking reminder. Otherwise, they become like they lose their focus. But because we're a game, we can incorporate many different types of well-being exercises and make them as mini game, as long as we have a consistent game world people live in. So we can be a lot more extensible, first of all. And secondly, we can incorporate community. And that's the most important thing. We can make it rather than, like a single person experience, like you do meditation by yourself, but like a group thing, like you go to gym in a group, which is much more fun and more effective. So we can do much more in a game to the multiplayer perspective. So in summary, we think being a game at a core, we can address a gap, make it not feel like a work, but we can also go be much more extensive and also be like communicating, having a community experience and multiplayer experience in the game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, Lauren, now I can get the names right this time. Classic. What have you discovered about your early users, and what is it really about that audience that makes them unique now that they've become quite sizable quite quickly, even though you haven't quite launched yet?
Yeah, so we've had over 80,000 downloads to date, which is very exciting for us. We find that our early adopters, the vast majority are women and non-binary folks. These are highly educated people that care a lot about mental well-being, and they've got a really scattershot approach to developing hobbies, things like baking bread or houseplants or miniature houses, and they're just not satisfied with what's in that mental well-being toolbox. The vast majority of them have also dropped out of things like Headspace and Calm as well. So we've really found that this is a very positive, engaged early adopter community for us.
And so one of my favorite things about you as a company, and we have a second company that's probably not dissimilar, but we're not going to announce them yet, is that your marketing today has been you've sort of discovered the world of TikTok, despite perhaps not being the people who people usually associate with TikTok, not to suggest anything about anyone's age sitting here. How did you sort of discover it as a channel, and what was that sort of journey like?
Yes, so like I'm sure everybody in the room, we dipped into TikTok as consumers over lockdown. We became fascinated, and myself coming from a marketing background, in the micro communities that sprung up and the new type of creator and the new type of influencer. And so looking at that and seeing that if someone shows up with an authentic, vulnerable message or some sort of value proposition, you can build a community around that. So we started sharing the development journey. Do you guys like this houseplant design, that houseplant design? What should we call the dog? That's the mascot character that's very popular.
Yes.
Everyone
Sammy.
loves Sammy.
Yes.
And so, TikTok people were just showing up. And so we've got over 50,000 people that really want to see us succeed. So we're very easily able to go and just be silly in the other room to ask these people something about the game and just really involve them in our development. And for them to get the insight in what we're doing is also really enriching. So we'd really encourage anyone to mess around with TikTok and try it for themselves.
Yeah, and I found like TikTok audience is very value lead as well.
Okay.
So because of our value, and Gen Z people especially really bringing, and brought into our value and along for the ride.
Yeah. Like, we did all of that video, like when we're sick with COVID and, sharing about that and being like, we had this beautiful plan and, Jack, the brand manager, put this beautiful plan together and then it all fell apart at the 11th hour and sharing about that. Everyone loved that on TikTok.
Yeah.
And so, Lauren, congratulations to you both on closing the round. Obviously announced just
Thank
then.
you.
And today, I believe, in the press. And so what roles are you hiring now? Got to scale up the team.
Yes, so we've got 2 specialist roles that have been really tricky. So we're hiring for a senior game designer and a growth marketer type of role. Those people both need to have games industry experience, but we're also looking for an office manager part-time to help us in Melbourne. We're going to be relocating some engineers, moving into a bigger office. So anyone who's in the room who knows someone who could be great for that, please come and chat with us, or anyone who happens to know people in those more specialist roles. But you can check out all the roles on our website as well.
Awesome. So, Christina, what's next? What's next for Lumi?
Oh my God, there's so many things to do. So our very biggest thing this year is to create a new category because we found this market gap. We want to create a category and be occupying this category as a dominant player. And we've been testing things such as crowd healing and kindfulness that the marketing team has cooked up with. And we started trialing which category suits best. We want to hire 22 people by the end of this year. We are 12 now, so we're nearly halfway there. So once we have this team running and we created this category, we want to go scaling, of course, the game. Next year, we hope to get the game to multi-million downloads game and become the biggest player in the category.
Awesome. We always love ambitious goals at Galileo. And one of the things with you two is, I would say a lot of the time, you're not even ambitious enough.
Yes.
So, and so, Lauren, how can the audience help?
Please go download Kinda World. Whether you're on iOS or Android, go to the store, check out Kinda World, give it a download. If there's a person in your life who's interested in mental well-being, maybe houseplants, maybe cute games, please recommend it. Anyone who knows anyone for the roles we're hiring would be fantastic, but anyone else who's interested in being part of the journey, please get in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren and Christina. And that's it from me in Melbourne. I'll come and see everyone who is there very soon. And over to you, James, to wrap up.
Thank you very much. All righty. Round of applause for Lauren and Christina for Lumi. That's fantastic. We're super excited. That news just got announced today, actually, so you are the first people hearing it. I'm sure it's going to get picked up widely. If you haven't tried the game, absolutely download and have a go. It's fantastic. I've been using it throughout COVID, and it's been wonderful. So that's pretty much it from tonight. There's a few more thank yous I'm going to make. First up, I'd like to thank the founders and the companies. Another round of applause for all our founders who came on tonight. They're all hitting great strides. They're all making great progress. We're very proud of all of them, and we're super excited to see what happens in the next 12 months. We're always looking for more companies to fund. So while public markets might be on fire, we are on fire funding. And so if you are interested in starting a company, if you are starting one, please come and pitch us. We would love to say hi. We have a whole bunch of new companies we're funding in the next few months. We're super excited to announce them. So that's all going to be at the next year's showcase. Or you can check out our blog because we often announce companies as well there. Thirdly, we'd like to thank everyone in the community for joining us. I know it's been raining in Melbourne. I know it's been raining in Sydney. And I know there's a lot of people on live stream. So a round of applause for all you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you very much. And finally, our coaches and mentors. Now, none of them you can see today because they're actually all around the world. At some point, we'll probably have to fly them all down, but they've been instrumental. We have a lot of coaches that we bring on in functional spaces, so like talent, recruitment, sales, marketing, and they're all operators in fantastic places. And so they work they spend a lot of time with our companies. And lastly, I'd like to thank our investors in Galileo. A lot of VCs don't actually talk about their investors, but we are here because we have an amazing group of about 30 or so investors who back us, who then allow us to go and back awesome companies. So thank you very much. Round of applause, yeah. All right, that's basically it from me. Thank you very much for coming. I'm glad to see everyone here. Thanks for everyone in the live stream for joining us. We're going to have some drinks. Hopefully on the live stream we'll have some drinks at your places. But we will see you all very soon for our next showcase and next event. Thank you for coming.